First of all, bank statements are now completely optional, which is completely adapted to these modern times. Users will now work on a statement level so that they are used to in their home banking environment. And you now have some great powerful search features as well. You will be able to look for everything on the statement level, but also on the level of the bank transactions. And last but not least, and this is definitely one of my favorites, we already had some drills downs everywhere in Odoo. Now on the bank statement itself, you will be able to drill down to the counterpart and come back without leaving the screen. Super, super easy. Without except from the reconciliation screen, we also had some new stuff for our batch payments, because it can happen from time to time that payments didn't go through for any kind of reason, so for lack of money in your bank account, or maybe for third parties that doesn't exist anymore. Well, in order to update the batches, before you had to go to the batch and update, and it was very complicated. Now you can immediately do it from the bank statement itself. So basically, when you remove a transaction, on the moment that you're going to validate it, we will automatically ask you, are you going to expect the payments for later, like before, or you can cancel immediately the payment and we're going to open the invoice for the next batch. Eva, time for a demo.
Let's dive into the database. Okay, so let's dive into our accounting application and focus on our bank journal here. So you see I have 3 items to reconcile, so let's directly dive in. Let's focus a little bit on the view first. So on the left side, you're going to have all the transactions available that you need to reconcile. On the right, the current counterpart being made, as well as all the open items at the bottom available in your database. Let's start with the first one. And already, well, we're off to a great start because I have no partner, I have an unclear label. Do you know how can I look for the reconciliation?
No idea, but you have an amount over there. Maybe you can search for the amount.
Yeah, so thanks to our powerful search features, it's easy to look for any information that you need, basically. So here I'm going to look for the amount, and Odoo will give me all the open items available. I still have a doubt, though, because I have the same partner and I have the same amount. So I will drill down into the invoice and see what this is about. And here looks like this invoice is the right one because I got the Dev on Demand product and this was on the label. So I'll just go back to the reconciliation view. You can of course look for other type of fields. So I can look for the partner, for example, and I will give also another type of result. I will select the invoice that I need, validate, and go on to the next one. Here it looks like a customer batch payment because we're using SEPA direct debit mandates. So you can find all your outstanding. Click, of course, you will have all the subsequent payments reconciled with your transaction. Looks like, though, that we have an outstanding amount here because one of our payments wasn't processed properly, maybe a lack of money or the bank account wasn't valid anymore. I'll just take it out and validate what has already been processed. By validating, since I rejected one payment, Odoo asks me what to do with it. I can either cancel it or expect it later. So I'll just cancel, and what happens is that the batch payment is only going to contain the processed payments, it's going to cancel the rejected payment, and it's going to reopen the invoice again so I can try. Lastly, here looks like an advance for contract for Stark Industries. Do you know what this is about?
Absolutely no idea, but at least you have a partner here and it's an advance. Maybe something is written in the reconciliation process?
Yeah, good idea. So a nice addition also in the reconciliation view is going to be the Discuss tab with the chatter visible of each transaction. With the chatter, and you've already seen it, comes the newest application in Odoo 16, which is the Knowledge app. You can access all the guidelines, the articles, information that you filled in by clicking on the book icon like I just did. So here I have one for my reconciliation process. I'll just dive in, and you see here, basically it says that I have a doubt on a transaction. I can use the reconciliation model to check so that a manager can review it later on. So now that I know that, I'll just go back and use the to check button. And we're done.
Looks very easy, but you said that the manager can check them later now. Where can he find them? Because I cannot see any transactions anymore.
Well, the search filters only apply for the open items, but also for the transactions. So you see at the top here, I have a not matched filter. If I take it out, you will see all the transactions available in my database, regardless of their status. So here, if I want to filter on the to check, because the manager needs to review it, I'll just use the to check filter, and I will have all the transactions corresponding to that search. You can even go further by using the quick search filters. So let's say you want to look for a partner. You can have, of course, all the different criteria available. So partner it is, I get all the transactions I need.
Super easy to search in all your transactions now, right? I can see you have a list view over there as well. Some benefits of the new list?
Well, in the list view, not only can you filter, but you can also group by. So super easy. Here, if you want to know, you can group all your transactions by month to get the amount by month of all your transactions.
Okay, super cool, Eva. Maybe we can dive back because I have one more question over here. I already announced it before, but the bank statements are optional now. I can see some of your transactions are linked to a statement, others not. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So indeed, you can now add transaction within Odoo without linking them to a bank statement. But if you want to keep using them, super easy by clicking on the statement button here. You can create it right on the spot. Odoo will compute, of course, the starting and ending balance of that new statement, save it, and adding all the transactions that follow, of course, the one that you've chosen.
Okay, super cool. Thanks, Eva. Let's go back to the slides.
Let's dive it back.
Next topic would be all about relation management. And the biggest change over there is definitely that we now added the early payment management. Cash discounts can now be configured immediately on your payment terms for your customers, but also for your suppliers, of course. And if we use it for a customer, we're going to print every interesting information immediately on the invoice, so that for your customer, it's crystal clear when they need to pay in order to benefit from a discount. But not only on the invoice itself, also if you create in and outgoing payments in Odoo, we're going to track based upon the transaction date in order to make sure that based upon the transaction date, the cash discount can be applied, well, we're going to apply it or not, which means that for your outgoing batches, it's super easy because you can now take all of them together, and if a discount can be applied, we're going to apply it in batch immediately. But also during the reconciliation process itself, we're going to make sure that, again, based upon the transaction date of your bank statement, we're going to write off the remaining amount if a cash discount is applied. So no intervention anymore over there. So speaking about payments, it's very easy to create them, but it can become from time to time tricky if we automate them too much. Like for example, if you use our OCR, we're going to catch the bank account automatically and add it on the contact form. Well, now you keep control of them because you need to validate the bank accounts before they can be used for outgoing payments. So no more problems like phishing or any scams because we're going to add them, but you need to validate them before you can use them in outgoing payments. And another hot topic is definitely making sure that your customers are credit worthy. So that's why now, on the contact form itself, you can immediately set some credit limits. And if you create an invoice, the accountant will immediately be warned about the fact that the credit limit has been exceeded. And not only the accountant, also the salesperson, because the same warning you're going to have when you create sale orders. And now that we went through all the invoicing process, so what about the follow-up for payments? Also there, the whole screen has been completely revamped, so that it's crystal clear to know in what stage it is. But also there are some great enhancements. First of all, you can now easily send them to multiple recipients, because on the contact form, you have a new type of contact in order to be used for the follow-up reports. And we integrated it with our next activities, so that by creating automatically activities on them, the user that needs to intervene on the follow-up, it's way more easy thanks to the task management that is available everywhere in Odoo. And last but not least, maybe the biggest impact here, we integrated it now with mail templates also. So that basically it's very easy to make sure to send the right mail at the right payment stage. Eva, time for a demo.
Yeah. So when we talk about relation management, I think it's best to start within our contact application where everything begins. So I'll just take one of our faithful customers, Captain Steve Rogers, and we're going to start first with the credit limit. So you can find it now in the accounting tab. Right at the bottom, you will have the possibility to define a partner limit. A default value is available, but you can, of course, define it on an individual basis. And you have also the total receivable available for that client. So you immediately see where this client stands in terms of limit. Right above it, you have all the bank accounts here that were created automatically. To make sure I can use these into future payments, I'll just validate them, and now I will be able to use them. And there's one last thing that I want to show you regarding follow-ups. Now in the contact and addresses, we have a new contact type called follow-up address. Now you can pre-configure them not one but multiple if you want to, and these will be used when you process your follow-ups, not only the invoicing addresses. Okay, I've shown you the configurations. Let's dive into one invoice to see how those work. So I'll create a new invoice for my customer, and when I add a new product, right away I get a notification, the warning from Odoo saying that this client has exceeded its limit, and you also get the total amount due, including the document you're processing. Well, here I'm good with the information I got. I'm just going to confirm anyway, and I'm good here.
Cool. I can see in the payment terms that for this customer you have a 2% discount. Is it the cash discount?
Yeah, indeed.
Okay.
So now on payment terms, it's possible to define cash discount conditions. So you can see it here, and the easy way for your customer to see it and know what amount they can pay is by printing the invoice, because basically on the PDF now you're going to have all the information from the invoice, but at the bottom you will have the due date, the full amount, but also the discounted amount, as well as the final due date for that discount to be applied.
Okay, super cool. But we're now talking about receivables. I guess everything that you showed over here is applicable for payables as well?
Yeah. So let me show you. I think I've got one bill to pay here, and I know there's a cash discount in it. So if I select it and I register a payment, you see here, no discount is applied because the payment date is already too late. But what if I push it in the past, so maybe a week earlier, you see that now the cash discount can be applied, so Odoo will automatically notify you and apply the right amount, okay? So no need to worry about the cash discount anymore when you're registering your payment. Odoo does the rest for you.
Okay, thanks, Eva. Maybe we can go back to the receivables, because now that we went through the invoicing process, maybe you can show the follow-up reports.
Yeah, so let's dive into the customer menu, and you will have, let's have our follow-ups here available. So I will dive into one of our follow-ups here. So let's focus on the view first. What has changed? Well, first you have no preview of the email anymore, because it is now a mail template, so we will see it when we process the follow-up. We have a nice addition with the status bar here at the top, so you immediately know at what stage we are with our client, as well as a few nice additions for the smart buttons for the customer and the invoices that are included in that follow-up. When you process it, what happens is that, well, you see first we have multiple recipients pre-configured here. That's because the ones I showed you on the contact form. And you can, of course, add additional ones if you need to. You will also have the preview of the email, and all you need to do now is send. And when we send the email, automatically what Odoo will do is shift the follow-up up to the next stage. And if you're bothered by this client and it gets repetitive, just get to a more aggressive approach, shift to the final notice automatically, so you don't have to deal with it afterwards.
Okay, super cool. Thanks, Eva. We're getting on track here. Let's go into the next topic, which is all about some general user experience enhancements. First of all, everywhere in Odoo, we have the drill downs now. Let's imagine that from your items, you start on a bank transaction. As from there on, you will be able to jump into your bank transaction. And from the bank transaction itself, if it's linked with a payment, from the bank transaction, you will be able to jump into the payment. And most of the time, payments are linked to one or multiple bills or invoices. Well, from the payment, you can jump into the invoice. And last but not least, we also added now the link with sale or purchase orders, if they're linked to your invoices or to your bills. So from there, you can even dive to the sale order without leaving the screen for once. It's super cool. So next is all about recurring entries. What about all these expenses you don't get an official document for? Like rent, I think, is the most common one. You need to be sure that your profit and loss is updated in real time on a monthly, quarterly, or yearly basis. Whereas from now on, in Odoo, you will be able, on any kind of accounting transaction, so not only on vendor bills, everywhere, you will be able to set a recurrence on a monthly, quarterly, or yearly basis. So that you just create the first one, and we're going to make sure that we're going to create all the ones coming right after. So that your profit and loss is always updated, and because it goes to the partner ledger, you can even reconcile it with your bank statements later. We all know that sequences are a nightmare for accountants, so if you have any gaps, we're now making sure to make it crystal clear for you immediately on the dashboard. So if you have a sequence gap on your journal, we'll point it out immediately on the dashboard itself. So that you can click over there and correct. And what if you have an external audit or any kind of audit and you want to be completely paperless? You want to send them the bills digitally because they are all in Odoo. All the images are over there. Well, you can immediately print all your original bills now, and we're going to make sure to print the sequence on the bills as well so that you can just send them one big batch with your invoices and one general ledger. Very easy to reconcile between both of them. Time for a demo, Eva?
Yeah, so let's dive in. Let's start with the drill down feature you talked about. So within the accounting menu, you will have one single view for your journal items from which you can retrieve any information. Accountants love this view because you get an overview of basically everything. So let's say you want to track your bank transaction and what's inside of it. I will filter first on my bank journal, group by journal entry, and let's say here I've got one big amount and I want to know what this is about. Yeah, this one. I'll dive in, and when clicking on the reference, I will immediately arrive into the reconciliation view. You can, of course, click on the counterpart reference, which is a payment. I will dive into the payment, and you see in the smart button here, this payment is related to 6 different bills. I dive in again, you'll see the detailed list of bills, and if I dive again in the bill, I can even access to the purchase order available. So
super cool, right?
Yeah.
Can you take one step back? Go to your items. I saw you have some partial payments there with the P. Might be sometimes difficult to know how these are reconciled. Can you maybe show if something changed over there?
Yeah, so it has always been difficult to know what is with inside a partial reconciliation. Let's say you want to see all partially reconciled sale orders, customer invoices. So I'll group by, I'll filter also on the unreconciled so you can immediately spot those, and group here, well, no need to group actually. So you see here in the matching column you have little P's available for you. Well, now those P's are clickable, so when you click on it, you will see the detailed reconciliation even though it's not complete. And you even get an indicator of how much needs to be reconciled with the new residual column available here.
Which will make it very easy for a balance on a specific account.
Yeah, indeed,
right?
indeed.
Okay, cool. Well, let's continue. And what about those recurring entries, Eva? I took the example of the rent. Maybe you can show how that works?
Yeah, I'll create a bill for our rent actually. So just process your bill as you would usually do it. Put your amounts, the bill date as well. So let's put end of September. So now that you're done with the processing, the last thing you need to do to enable the recurrence is go in the other information tab, and you now have the auto post field. I'll choose a monthly basis, since of course rent comes every month. You can even choose an end date if you want to, and now Odoo will notify me that the recurrence is enabled. I'll just confirm my bill, and now Odoo will do the rest, because when a recurring bill is confirmed, the other one for the next recurrence is created in draft. So you will see it here. I have one bill to validate, and you see in the bill date is actually the one for October. And when this one gets confirmed, automatically, of course, the one for November will be created, and so on and so on.
Super easy, and it's linked to a partner, so you can even find them in the partner ledger, right?
Yeah, super cool, it's super useful.
Can you go back to the dashboard? I saw you have a gap in your sequence. Maybe you can see how that looks like.
So from the dashboard, you will now get warnings every time there is an issue with your sequence, and by clicking on the warning, you immediately spot where the issue is. So you could either resequence your different invoices. Here, just for the example, I'll just reset to draft, change the customer invoice sequence, and confirm back again. And if I go in the dashboard, no more warnings anymore.
Cool. So last but not least, what about the export?
Yeah. So let me dive into my vendor bills very quick. I'll just filter on the posted entries. So when I print the original bills now, so the PDF you've received from your vendors, Odoo will print those with an additional banner, and this is what it looks like. So every time in each PDF, you will have the purple banner with the internal reference in it. So your external stakeholders will be very pleased, of course, to see this, because it's going to be easy for them to reconcile what's inside your database and what's on the official documents.
We like the purple, right?
Oh yeah, we love purple.
Okay, let's go back to the slides. We already discussed a lot of putting data into Odoo? Well, now we also focused a lot in order to make sure that all those data are very readable for all kind of stakeholders. So first of all, we revamped all our new financial reports. And they don't only look amazing in the front end, but even more in the back end, because a lot has been done there in terms of performance and inconsistency.
Wait. You sure you want to talk about technical stuff? Because like you don't understand a thing about this.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Sorry about that. There is a talk, I think, this afternoon about the creator himself, Olivier. If you want to know how technically this has been changed, because it's really a big impact, please have a look at this talk. It's very interesting. But let's concentrate on the front end first, because you can see we also changed the colors. We added green and red in order to make it very clear if any inconsistencies happen. So we also added a new report. It was actually a PDF report before, but we made it a standalone report immediately in the reporting section. Accountants are going to love using this one during the closing process because it gives actually all the information you need about the accounting entry in order to verify if these are correct. And if you're working in a multi-company environment, you can easily switch, between the report, the generic report, and the one in your localization. And last but not least, and this is really a game changer, we added dashboards for all our major applications. And of course, accounting is part of it. And they're dynamic, so you can easily drill down to all the different items or update the reports by clicking one or multiple KPIs. This is so amazing. And if you want to change them, you don't even need to be a developer because it's our spreadsheet engine running behind the scenes. So basically, everybody can easily edit them and add some KPIs or change the reporting. Super easy.
Yeah, let's dive into the database again. I'll first start with the financial reports. Let's dive into our balance sheet. So here you immediately spot the new design, of course. I can easily switch from my Belgian GAAP reports to the generic one if I want to, so same behavior. And of course, financial reports in Odoo have the strength to communicate with each other. So if I dive into the balance sheet, click on the current year earnings, I will dive into the profit and loss. Again, you see the new, I'll just wait for the applause to be done. So you'll see the new design as well. I can also, of course, diving again into the general ledger, from the general ledger into the journal items, and so on and so on. Well, let's now check the journal report. So this is now a standalone report that will benefit to all our financial friendly users, of course, because you will see all the journal items grouped by entry, but also by journal. And what's most interesting is that at the bottom of each journal section, you will get the tax overview for all the entries within that journal by tax and by tax rate. And because we love drill downs, of course, you can click on the grids to see the detailed items related to that amount.
Cool, Eva. General reporting is nice, but I believe people want to see the dashboards.
Yeah, let me get to it. So I'll just dive into our new dashboard application. And of course, you see here we have three dashboards for finance. So these are not only beautiful, they are dynamic and responsive. So every time that you see a purple data here, it means that you can filter on it. So let's say I want to see all Robin's sales, for example. I will be able to see the top invoices for his sales as well as the chart adapted. I can just take it out his filter and go back to the initial situation. And you can, of course, drill down as well to the records visible on the dashboard. So, for example, I will click on one of the invoices and I can immediately see what's happening in that record and go back, of course, in the initial view.
Dashboards are so amazing, right? I don't know how many times we did this, but it remains stunning, right?
Yeah, they're beautiful.
I thought it was easy to adapt them. Can you show maybe how you can easily add a KPI? I would like to have a margin coefficient. Eva, can you show how easy that is?
Yeah, indeed, no worries. So I'll dive into the configuration and go into the edit mode of these dashboards. So let's dive into the finance one, into the invoice. So now in edit mode, you basically are in our Odoo spreadsheet. Okay, so you can add as many KPIs as you need. So for your margin coefficient, I need two things. I need the total balance for my income, total balance for my expenses. So this is what I'll do. And thankfully, we've got new financial purpose formulas that I can spot by using the Odoo prefix. So I'll do balance, all income accounts start by 70 in in Belgian gap, so I'll just do that. I'll do the same for my expenses. Use exactly the same formula. Account start by 60. Put the date range, and you're good. For the margin coefficient, basically super easy. You just take your income, you divide it by the expense, and you get the coefficient. Now, if you want to add this as a new KPI visible on your dashboard, well, nothing difficult. I'll just add this, insert it as a new chart. So here, we've already heard it, but we have two new chart types, gouge and scorecard. This is the one I'll choose. I'll also add a baseline. So let me just add one real quick. Whoopsie. Okay. So that I can track the evolution of my coefficient. I'll just put B15 here, confirm. That way you can see, and you can even change the format. I'll just choose percentage. I'll just add a title real quick. And I can even change the color to match it with the others. Now I'm done. I'll just copy and paste it. Resize it to shape. Okay. And now if I go back to my dashboards again, in the invoicing section, I'll now have my brand new KPI ready.
Super cool. Okay,
Perfect.
let's go back to the presentation, because I believe we arrive nearly at the end of this presentation. But of course, like every great presentation, we have one more thing. And I can definitely say that it's both our favorite new feature in Odoo accounting, right?
I'm in love with it.
Okay, so well, let's imagine that you can segment all your KPIs in different analytic plans, and that you can apply analytic distribution immediately on the fly, and that Odoo even permits you to create distribution templates for very fast encoding. Well, I believe a lot of people already hear us coming, but all of this is now possible thanks to the new analytic apocalypse. And Eva, these don't need any print screens. Let's dive immediately into a demo to show them what it looks like.
Yeah. So let me start first by going into the configuration of the new analytic feature. So the biggest difference is that we completely removed all the analytic tags. So we only keep analytic accounts to fill in analytic information into our accounting. We've also replaced the groups by analytic plans, and you'll see how these are different. So let's dive into those first in the configuration of the accounting app. So you see how I've got 4 plans, and the first thing you notice is that we now have default applicability by plan. So you can make one information mandatory, optional, or simply unavailable depending on the plan you're choosing. We can even dive in and get even more complex condition of applicability based on the domain, so the type of transaction, the financial account prefix, and the product category. So here, for example, I'm going to get the region plan mandatory for sales, but optional for vendor bills. You can, of course, use sub-plans to have a more complex analytic structure. And also a big difference is that analytic accounts must now be related to analytic plan.
Yeah, sorry, I was not following. You say that the analytic accounts must be linked to an analytic plan. Is there a specific reason for it, why it's mandatory now?
Yes, because with the new analytic feature, now you can have a multi-dimensional analytic system in Odoo 16, which means that for each dimension, each plan, they need their special values, their own values. So each account will be related to only one plan. So let's dive into a customer invoice to see how we are going to, of course, book analytics now. So I'll just create a new invoice for one of our customers. Let me just show our analytic field. So the first thing you notice here, we only have one analytic field in our invoice lines anymore. So no more doubts regarding should you use accounts, you use tags. Super easy. I'll just fill in the information, and when I click on the analytic field, you will see all the plans that are available and that I need to fill in. Every plan with the orange bullet you see here is mandatory, so I can't book my customer invoice unless I've got some data in it. And the departments here is only optional, so I could fill some information, but I don't have to do it. And remember, we had 4 plans. Here I'm only got 3 because the last one is completely unavailable for my customer invoices. So I'll just fill it in. So basically super easy. You see the bullet becomes green. and the department as well, so I'm good. And I'll just have to confirm the invoice, and I'm just good, super easy.
It was indeed super easy, Eva. These were a 100% distribution for each one of them. Can you show us how you can distribute them maybe in percentage?
Yeah, so let's take an indirect expense like electricity, for example.
Perfect.
This is always something that we're going to split among our different departments. So for example, I'll just create a new bill for our electricity. So let's put here electricity. And in my analytic here, well, you see the plans have changed quite a bit because now the departments are mandatory, whereas the sites and the region are optional. And now the hosting plan is completely unavailable for my purchases. So now I'm just going to do a full distribution right on the spot. So let's put 10% for indirect. Here, 15 for marketing, for internal. 15 for marketing. 35 for R&D. And lastly, the last 15% for services. Let's put a site and let's put a region. Super easy,
That was
right?
easy.
Yeah.
You took some time for the distribution. Can you save them easily so that you don't have to do it every time over and over again?
Yeah, of course. So it can be useful to create distribution on the fly, but sometimes you need to reuse them. So easy to click on the save icon here. And now you will have the new pop-up appearing where you can define the conditions in which this distribution should be applied automatically. So here I'll just put the account. So it means that every time that I'm using the electricity account, I'll just save and close. And next time I use this account, I'll be automating the distribution. So if I take this again and I put the account electricity, automatically the distribution is applied.
Nice. Well, filling it in is one thing. Of course, we all make mistakes. So what if we made mistakes, Evan? I would like to see if we can easily apply it on a long range of accounts.
Indeed. Well, for those who already know Odoo, you know that you can mass process in your journal items the financial accounts, the tax grids, and even the labels within your journal items. But now you can even do it for the analytics. So let me just display it. Let's say you've made a mistakes in your income accounts. I'll just group by account and show, for example, for our subscriptions, I had to choose a different distribution. So I'll just do that real quick. Select all of those. And here, when I click on the field, it becomes editable. So if I put indirect instead of direct, and I click out, Odoo will ask me confirmation. And when I do so, all at once, all the items are updated.
Multiple accounting records. This is so powerful.
So easy.
Okay, well, I'm afraid we arrived at the end of our presentation. We hope you're all excited as we are about all those new features, because believe me, it has been a huge effort in order to have them all in Odoo 16. Because we have more than 156 features only for accounting. And for us, it's very easy to showcase. But way too often we forget the brilliant developers that worked on all of these features. So that's why we put some pictures there. A few years ago, Quentin was the only one in the accounting R&D team. And now, a few years later, well, there are more than 35 brilliant developers working around the clock in order to make Odoo accounting better every year, over and over again. So huge thanks to all of them, and thank you very much for all of you being with us today. We hope that you enjoyed the presentation, and we wish you all a great Odoo experience. Thank you very much. We're available for the Q&A session right now.
Hello guys, good job.
We cannot hear him.
I'm here to ask your questions. Up. 1 second.
Maybe you can try there. It's easier, maybe.
Yeah, let's try. 1 second.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, you guys mentioned we have over 150 new features. What's your favorite feature in V16?
For me, it's an easy one. I'll let you answer first.
Analytic accounting, obviously.
Okay.
Same for me. I think it was like, we were waiting for it since 2 years now.
Yeah.
It's way more easy now with the values for every plan, so that it's crystal clear for everybody with the colors, etc., the distribution. I really believe accountants are going to love it.
Mm?
It was very necessary as well, to be very honest.
Indeed.
Ah, nice. And how about the analytical accounting? What do you like most about it?
Well, the multi-dimensional feature, being able to have multiple plans, because a lot of clients were asking for it, and we were finding workarounds, but at some point, you really want to have a feature that fits the business needs of our clients.
You know, before we had the tags, and with the tags you could put a distribution, but you might make some mistakes and put the same distribution linked to a same group multiple times. Now, with the dimensions in there, sorry, it's very easy to not make mistakes and being crystal clear of choosing the value per plan. And that's, I think, the biggest impact. But also the fact that you can now easily save the templates instead of doing it before. And the distribution is just, I always say it, but it's so powerful that you can immediately apply it on a long range of accounting entries in a single click. It's so fast. I think it's underestimated, but it's so powerful.
Yeah, indeed. You definitely will save a lot of time for accountants as well. When we are talking about version 16, so we have a question here from the audience about version 15. Apparently there used to be a small button for the original invoices when the bank statements are uploaded. Do we know where this button moved from there?
Can you repeat the question? I'm not sure.
We have a small button in V15.
With, after the uploading bank statements, you know,
After
the
the
little
upload
I,
of the bank statement.
in the transactions, we had the little I with all the reference, the notes, and so on.
Ah, it's a good question.
Yeah, actually.
I think it's a good question. Actually, it has been removed, but I think it has been removed because we now have standard views. So it's not a standalone.
Waiting for the French version, guys.
I think the reason why we removed it is because now it are standard views, so it's standard list views. So basically all the information that was available in the little I button, you now have it available in different columns. So you can easily adapt the columns on the view. And before it was I'm not technical, but I think it was a JavaScript widget, which was very complicated to add some information. And now because it's standard views, it's very easy to have the information you want. I think that's the reason.
Either that or having a log note in the chapter, but my guess is go with the fields, and you could easily switch from the Kanban view, where you have the whole reconciliation, into the list view, and you will have all your fields available there. But good question.
We have some questions about what's upcoming in V17. One concrete question here is about ADN. Is the integration in the pipeline? ADN.
With what? It's not specifically linked to accounting, so I'm not aware of it.
So the EDI.
No, with ADN.
ADN.
It's a payment provider. It's a good question, but I don't know about it. I already thought it was there, to be honest.
Yeah.
But sorry, I don't know the answer on it. But feel free to come to the accounting booth. We have a lot of developers over there, so they might answer if it's in there. So ADN, I don't know.
Okay. And how about some sneak peeks into V17? What does that look like?
I need to pay attention about what we say, because last year I said something and I don't know if the R&D team was very happy with it. So I'm just going to say that I'm going to point out my preference feature. Like this year it was the analytic accounting. I hope that next year we could have something like cash forecasting. I believe it's something that is missing today in the accounting application. We don't have any cash forecasting, and make it easy to have it in a standard report, like all our reports. So I hope we can convince our R&D team and Fabien that we can do something about that, because I think a lot of people need it.
Cool. I think I have no more questions here. So thank you very much, guys.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you all of you for joining us today.